So this is David, and he was created in Florence, Italy, and he's located in the Gallery of the Academy in Florence, Italy. The artist responsible for this work is Michelangelo, and he is Italian. The medium of this work is marble, and David is from the Renaissance period. And some historical relevance of the work is that David was commissioned for one of the buttresses of the Cathedral of Florence, and David was actually carved from a block of marble that had been partially blocked out by other sculptors and left outdoors because the other sculptors were like, this marble is not good enough, like it's like defected, but like Michelangelo still made David out of it. And how long did it take to create? It took from 1501 to 1504. And this work is important because David really embodies the city of Florence, as he symbolizes independence and strength, and the perfect image of youthful beauty. And like shortly after David's creation, he became a symbol of the Renaissance overall, and just like truly became a representation of the city itself. Some defining characteristics of this work is that David stands kind of relaxed but very like alert, and he's resting on a classical pose known as contrapposto. Also, David was intended to be viewed from below, so Michelangelo kind of skewed his proportioning to like his hands and feet and his head are like a lot bigger than his torso and legs. And Michelangelo, his contributions, he sculpted the Pietà in Rome, he painted the Sistine Chapel ceilings, and he designed the dome for St. Peter's Basilica. So yeah, Michelangelo's artworks are considered some of the greatest achievements in human history, and he's one of the most famous artists like known. I mean, he has a Ninja Turtle named after him, like, you know, he's popular. And a personal observation is that the furrowed brow of David and his like very pronounced veins on his right hand really help put forth this feeling of anticipation. You can clearly feel and see how David is like sizing up Goliath. He's considering his next move. And while I was walking up to the sculpture, I was already like feeling anticipation, because I was like, I'm about to see David. I'm about to see one of the most famous pieces of artwork like in all of history. And like I was feeling anticipation, and whenever I saw David and I really like studied him, I was like, we are both feeling anticipation right now. Like it just really stuck to me, because like you can see how he's like just sizing Goliath up and thinking about his next move. I just thought that was really cool, that just from this piece of art, like just this sculpture, you can feel all these emotions. And why did I choose this work? When I found out we were going to see David, I knew that like I had to like research it and learn as much as I could about David, because once again, it's one of the most famous pieces of art. Like it's almost like a world wonder in the way that people talk about it. And yeah, I think David is one of the most important or like most incredible sculptures I think I'll probably ever see in my lifetime. There will never be another David. And actually I think David and the Ecstasy of St. Teresa are like the two sculptures that have really like stuck with me throughout this whole trip. And like I will never forget the feeling of like going and seeing them. So that's why I chose to do a video over David and the Ecstasy of St. Teresa. And how does it compare to other works of the period? Renaissance sculptures carved biblical figures with amazing realism, with a focus on proportions, anatomy, and the perspective of its subjects. And I think that David is a perfect example of this lifelike realism. But how his pose are different than it's like very unlike other Renaissance depictions of David. Like rather than being in action, he's in that kind of relaxed, like anticipatory pose. Also, in regards to the proportion, because Michelangelo intended it to be viewed from like down below, that's why his like feet are like his feet, hands, and head are much larger. So that's the only thing that's kind of different with the Renaissance, because they focus heavily on proportions, even though David's like isn't really proportionate technically. And a fun fact is that the statue of David is slightly cross-eyed.